Good to be back with you here on the New York Red Bull social media platforms. Excited for the start of the MLS season. We're going to start talking about a player that was in Major League Soccer last year. That is Andrés Reyes. Was with Inter Miami CF. New York able to sign him. It's a young player, I think, with a high ceiling, very athletic, and you would think kind of fits in to the idea of what Gerhard Struber is going to want to do moving forward.
Well, I think what you're going to see relative to the highlights that we're about to see, you're going to see a player that I think, obviously, I'm very excited about him, his athleticism, his strength, and he reminds me a lot of the player he's probably going to be playing next to, Aaron Long. You know, there's just so much upside with this player. You see his confidence in terms of how he defends. Not only is he a very solid defender, but he can get forward on set pieces. So, you know, like I said, I think there's a lot of talent there, and I think the new coach here, Struber, is going to have an excellent opportunity with this specific player, taking them to new heights. You know, this is a talented player, and fortunately for us, you know, in the system that we play, we need that athleticism. So that's why I'm comparing him to Aaron Long, at least in the last couple of years, in terms of Aaron, as he was learning the position and truly learning the position as a center back. You know, he relied on his athleticism a lot of times, and look at his upside.
One of the things definitely that jumps off, at least for me, is that this is a player that is extremely athletic, still kind of growing probably into the maturation of being a center back at the Major League Soccer level. But the athleticism is certainly something that just strikes you right away.
In a league like Major League Soccer that is as athletic, as physical as it is, you need these very athletic sort of center backs. And so I think with Andrés Reyes, who when he started at the beginning of the season was seen as a guy who was going to compete for a spot, but very, very quickly was seen as an absolute no questions asked starter. It was because of that athleticism, it was because of his recovery speed, it was because of his physicality in the air. All the tools that I think a center back needs to succeed in Major League Soccer.
You have Andrés Reyes, the player on the field, which we've talked about a little bit. You've got Andrés Reyes off the field as a 21-year-old. What kind of person is he in the locker room, around the team, things like that?
He seemed like somebody who brought a lot of joy to the team and to the squad. He was a guy who seemed to get along with everybody, who players sort of gravitated to. And as I said, he was starting on merits, and he beat out some good players to that starting role, whether they played with three at the back or just a back four with two center backs. He was a guy there was always a place for. And so I think he's already a player who, at this level, deserves to start and probably will for your club as he did for ours.
Let's look at what he can do offensively as well. As a defender, Steve, as you mentioned, clearly your role and responsibility, keep the ball out of the back of the net. But obviously you'd like a guy to get involved as well. This is from the Youth National World Cup that he was part of the Colombian team, scoring a goal against New Zealand.
It's true, and I think he has a standing about himself, and you can see in terms of, I did see him play a couple times during the course of the season last year, and he has almost like an air of confidence that you want your defenders and any young player to have, is that he feels comfortable in his own skin. And I think people do not realize just what kind of upside this young player has for us kind of going forward. And I think the front office staff did a great job bringing a player like him into the team, into the fold. I'm going to leave you with a quote from his interview, and I think you're going to enjoy this quote, because I enjoyed this quote. It says, quote, "First of all, I provide security. The job of a center back is to defend, to try not to concede goals. This essentially is what I offer." Like, how many times I say on broadcast, at the end of the day, your role and responsibility as a defender is to stop goals. I mentioned that he can score goals, he can get forward, but it seems like for a 21-year-old, he's got the major point that I often address with defenders is, you don't always have to look pretty, you just have to do your job. And you rely on, his strength, his athleticism, his pace. You rely on the fact that he's got an experienced center back now next to him, like Aaron Long, and that's why I think there's just huge upside with this with Reyes.
The 21-year-old Andrés Reyes from Colombia, now part of the New York Red Bulls. With Steve Jolley, I'm Matt Harmon. We're, of course, the crew for the New York Red Bulls radio network. We'll be doing some of these videos, breaking down some of the newest Red Bull signees during the course of the offseason, leading in to hopefully the start of the MLS preseason, end of February, and the start of season in April.